Let's learn basic of pivot table or how to create one. Pivot table summarizes data to analyze for different purposes, all without typing any formula. For example, here we can see amount spent for different types by different persons. Now if I want to check total amount spent or highest amount spent on which type or by whom, I can use a pivot table to check instantly without typing different formulas for different requirements. Now to create a pivot table for this data, click anywhere on the data, click on Insert. Now I may click on Recommend Pivot Tables, which will show different recommendations for my data, and I can choose one and click on OK. But I want to start from scratch, so close this and click on Pivot Table drop down, click on From Table/Range. Now Excel automatically took the entire data range correctly here. Next we can choose if we want the pivot table in this existing worksheet or in a different worksheet. I want my pivot table here in current worksheet, so I can click on existing worksheet, then for location section, click on up arrow button, click on the cell from where you want to start your pivot table, click on down arrow button, click on OK. Now it's showing a panel at right for me to choose different fields for pivot table. Now I will show few different ways to create pivot table to analyze my data. First, let's see how can I get total amount spent. So let's click and drag the field amount in value section. It's showing the total value of all amount in this very small and simple pivot table. Now let's see total amount spent on different types. So click and drag type in row section. It's showing different types and total amount for each type in this pivot table. Now let's see total amount spent by each buyer for each type, so I can click and drag buyer in column. It's showing who has spent how much in total in which types. For the last one, I will show the filter function, so if I click and drag buyer in filter, it has created a separate filter for buyer instead of previous column. Now if I click on the filter button, I can either see total expenses for different types by all buyers, or I can choose one buyer to check the expense details, particularly for the selected person.